Okay, David, I'm going to send you a video. Yes, a video, because that way I can catch up on a bunch of topics at the same time. Let me share my screen as always. Sorry, I wanted to show you this actually. No, let me go first to the moratorium. So the problem is this, what happened, okay? Spain follows the rule of law and is a good country. And says you go to a judge and you get what you know, what I mean, what the law says, you'll be able to make that happen. But the problem is the laws change. And that's the kind of structural challenge that we have now. They've changed the law on the parliament, the local parliament, on other problems, well, like states in the US, but at a much smaller scale, have regulated that there's a moratorium. Okay, so you can't do any more of this properties for the next year. But this is the super right-wing government in place. So they say that if these guys have done it, everybody in the market is saying this is going to be it happened the same in Barcelona. They started with 1 year and then eventually, or a certain amount of time, and eventually no more of these properties. Okay. And it's been like 50 years, and it's even more extensive in Barcelona. So kind of everybody is right now, what has happened in the market is everybody's saying, they're not going to be any more. So the value is going to increase of each one of them. So we're going to be charging more because obviously there's going to be fewer options, or there's going to be less supply of this kind of properties. So the value is going to increase. So the right now you're paying the price of that potential increase if you want to acquire more properties. Much harder to find. Okay, suddenly all the developers that were working on this, suddenly they're like, no, we're keeping 70% of the properties, because before we would sell them to make more of them, but now we don't know. So we're keeping 70 or 80%, and the 20% that are available, you need to bid on the price. So that was a game that we're like, okay, this is not great for us. We don't have the bandwidth to go bidding around, to go doing that kind of effort. We should have jumped in 2-3 years ago. We had already invested, okay, but we could. So we've pulled back, okay, because we just paid 10% of 2 properties, but we had a clause in the contract to be able to pull out, okay, and that's what we've done. And I don't think we're going in, just because now it becomes a much more complicated game. If I lived in Valencia and this is my full-time job, then yes, doesn't matter. The properties are going up, doesn't matter. You have an angle to, but this is a side gig. It was based on a thesis. It was based especially on being able to acquire, let's say 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, X amount of them, and then have our own management team or have a much better pricing. The problem now is that it's going to take much longer. Each property is going to be many fewer on the market, much more technical pricing or battle pricing or speculative pricing is going up with. And there's a big problem, because what has happened in many regions is when they start to regulate, they start to make things more complicated. They increase the requirements when you want to invest in the properties in that region. Or for example, they start taxing additional taxes. So I'm just assuming that the profitability is going to go down. Okay, I'm going from an average of 11%. Or 10%, depending on the cost that we mentioned, assign an additional increased cost, plus the appreciation of the property is lower. There's a risk there that we mentioned. So we're probably going to go from 2 other options. One is developing from the ground up. So buying the property. We have some partners there that seem to be willing to co-invest with us. Okay, and there's a long-term strategy related to that, related to Asian, bringing Asian buyers, which makes a lot of sense, okay, and especially given my background and my wife's background, okay. And the other one is renting by rooms, okay. We're already working with, we see one investment that looks quite good. It's already working. It's functional. The appreciation of the property operates as any other property quite well. So we believe that can be. And that's one factor. And the other one is buying the land with those partners, okay. Those are the 2 ones. So we're backing out. We're backing out because the thesis was it's going to be easy to scale. And there's a bunch of developers doing this. So we should have done this. If we had done this 3 years ago, amazing. We accumulate 10 properties like this. And we, with a cash influx, you can invest very easily again. But this is not going to work. I think that it's going down to it could go down to 8% in terms of yield. You don't know, you have a lot of variability, and it doesn't make sense because you don't have the appreciation factor you have with other properties. Okay, that's one. Second one I wanted to mention, interesting, just because I looked at some data, okay, and I thought this was quite interesting. In terms of stock market, okay, when we're thinking about the stock market nowadays, this is the price to earnings ratio, okay? And I am quite surprised, okay, because this data here, okay, because and I'm just thinking about the stock market and thinking about a potential recession, okay. Remove ads, okay. Okay, so this is from 1940. Okay, you see, there's a constant increase. What I think is interesting is what I'll show you here. Here, let me see if I have it. Yeah, here. Okay, this is the historic. Okay, what is interesting is it doesn't always follow recessions. Okay, what I think is interesting is you see it's in ranges. Okay, until 1989, it was really low. Well, really low. It was 13.7. Okay, price to earnings ratio. Then in the 1990s, pre-dot-com bubble, it went nuts. But if you, these are averages, okay, it's monthly averages aggregated, and you end up with this. So obviously, there's a little bit of that game of the average game. Okay. Then in 2008, before this is the crazy number that you'll see here, okay, that you see here. Obviously, it went up like absolutely nuts. Okay, it was normal that everything cracked. I don't know. I don't know how we. I mean, it was just I wasn't looking at this data in those times. Okay, but you can see that. But then what you can see is that there's kind of an increase in the average. Okay, it's there's an up and there's a down, and right now we're at 26.26. Okay, which I'm just bringing this up with you. Okay, just because I think this is interesting. Oh, okay, when you look at this average, because we're clearly on the higher end. I think there's obviously what this is telling you is that there's a when you hit an average of 32% is when you know that I mean, that's not the physical limit, but you know that things are going to shift. And so I'm kind of seeing that, hey, it looks like we're in that phase where there's some more growth expected, but earnings will keep on growing, but the price per earnings, you know, actually generally needs to go down. Okay, needs to generally can't be. Obviously, it seems to it's going to be higher than before the 1989. The average is going to be around 20 something. But this is the moment when you hit 20 something that you know, well, you're starting to go into the, hey, we're going to peak period. And just wondering on your input in this, because I know you're a follower of the economy. By the way, just wanted to, I'll send you this one. Okay, this one, the corporations learn the maximum about what they can charge for on Odd Lots. Really good one. Really, really interesting one about personalized pricing using AI, and obviously using all the statistical, all the data that you can to kind of forecast what how much you can charge everybody. And obviously people with less income actually having to pay more because they have less alternatives. And just sending you those three things. Okay, the moratorium, which I think was interesting, and the economy, the price per earnings ratio, and what this implies. I just want to get your feedback. And this one is just a goodie bag. I'm sending you. I mean, you might have already listened to it, but if not, you have to listen to it because it's really, really good. Okay, buddy. Thanks so much. As you said, this is going to be part of the channel. Why not? The YouTube channel, and maybe someone wants to watch this. Okay, talk soon. Bye.